Hello friends, this is Lavrentia Valiona with you, and today we have a long-awaited extended video episode. So I have a guest today, a girl who has had some trouble. She lost the battle with the door. Oh my god, with the car door she lost. I'm sorry. I spent a long time editing and preparing, so I'm a little nervous. So she pinched her finger, it happens, and what happened, and she came to me after a while. They cleaned everything up for her. And now she's showing how it was on February 15th, which was just recently, only a few months ago when it happened. And she's showing that this finger is completely black. It was throbbing, she could really feel it, but somehow she just didn't get around to it. So she didn't pierce it, didn't remove all of that, and after some time the nail completely came off on its own. You don't always need to pierce a hematoma, but the outcome will be similar to what's shown in the video. By the 22nd, it already looked like this for her. And accordingly, there's no nail plate at all, it's just completely gone. And after some time, everything started to heal, scabs began to form, and we're left with what we're left with. This is how it looked on February 26th. And actually, from the very beginning, you could already notice that her nail plate started to get compressed. Right here in the lunula area, you know, where we have that little half moon that's kind of translucent, it started to get compressed and bunch up like this. And as you can see, her other nails are very beautiful, meaning her natural nail plate looks just wonderful. But with the middle one, there's a minor problem. She came to us with a complaint that it's ingrown, it's pressing on her, she feels discomfort, it's inconvenient for her to use her finger, and in general she constantly tries to avoid touching anything with that finger in her daily life. Well, it's understandable, right? As you can see now, especially in these close-up shots, the finger has just been cleaned for a long time, everything looks good, but the corners are deeply embedded into the skin. If nothing is done about this, the recovery will be difficult, if not painful, or it could take a very long time, or the nail might not grow back properly at all. That's why I suggested working on it with her and to start by installing a correction system for her. And just to get ahead of things, I know you all are going to comment on this. I work with models for free. Yes, that's just something I do. It's because I want some energy, I want to bring it out, and I don't want people thinking about money at that moment. So we decided together that we'll clean it up a little more, or rather make the nail plate a bit thinner because you can see it's thickened, and we'll clean it up just a bit more. Right now I'm using diamond bits in my work, and all of them are from KMIS. And I also want to note that I'm working with the Dr. Alex SP130 machine. That's the one I use to set all my records. If anyone doesn't know, you can Google Aliona Lavrentieva manicure and pedicure record. There are actually 2 of them, and they are officially in the record books in Russia. So while I was telling you all this, we're already finishing up our cleaning. As you can see, I took a blue bit so I could really get in there properly, because I need to make sure that the corners which have gone inwards start to open up. More precisely, so it changes from this state to that. I hope I'm explaining it clearly visually. First, I need to thoroughly clean everything. If I just put a titanium CS here, it won't work. In this case, nothing will happen, because the skin will keep holding these corners. I understand that everything is hard, so I take this ingrown toenail solution from Domex. Actually, here's a little secret. If you just screenshot the bottle and type in what's written on it, you'll easily find everything on the internet, on marketplaces, basically everywhere. So use it and show your thanks with a like. It'll make me happy. So we applied a drop, waited a little bit, and after that the nail plate will become a bit more flexible. And yes, I see a red spot in the middle. I know I overfiled a little bit, but everything will be fine there. Spoiler, but there will be a lot of visits in this video. So the product has already started to work a little. And I carefully go in with the curette. The curette is this metal stick, by the way. I'll probably show it on the screen too. Mine is from. And with this curette, I carefully go in and start checking if the walls are moving or not. And the nail is squeezed very, very tightly. It's so dense, and everything will happen quite slowly. Well, I can already see in the video how they're slowly starting to give way. And now we're degreasing everything thoroughly so that there's no shine left. And we take this product that's used in our correction systems. Well, it's like a base and primer, kind of 2-in-1, so it will hold really well. I take some on a micro brush, that's the stick with the fuzzy tip, put a drop where I plan to attach the composite drop and cure it with a special lamp. I have a dental lamp. You can find it in dental stores or on marketplaces. All of that is there as well. But for objective reasons, I can't provide links to everything, so you'll have to manage and do your best. As I said, just take a screenshot of what I showed and nothing bad will happen. But I can only leave active links where I officially have the right to do so, where I have a note indicating it's an advertisement. Meanwhile, I'm already placing a drop of composite, inserting a special little wire for the titanium thread, and fixing it with a lamp. The next part will be the most difficult because I'll need to secure the second part and accordingly also cut this wire. There are different ways and methods for that. This time I tried one of them, and to jump ahead, I'll say that I didn't like how it turned out for us because the tension wasn't quite right. But we installed it the best we could and didn't redo it because we were already short on time. I spend extra time during consultations explaining things so the client feels comfortable. I prefer to spend time on that. We ran out of our free time and we left the titanium thread placed not quite correctly like this. But even it will actually work and give results. She doesn't wear it for very long and then we'll redo it. And right now in this video, I'll show the next visit. Meanwhile, I'm showing how it looked when it was put on. So there's an option here where you stretch the wire and then cut it after it's been dried. It's a workable option, but as you can see, we have this kind of roll here that overlaps. All of this was getting in the way. It made things difficult for me during the process, but more or less we managed. The main point is the titanium thread stayed in place, so everything was installed correctly. The only thing is, yes, there is a problem specifically with the tension, but we've already accepted it. Denial was brief, acceptance followed almost instantly. Because there was a task. After all, it wasn't about making everything perfect or beautiful, but about solving the problem. And as you can see on the first side where I attached the mesh, it doesn't reach the edge. And that's exactly why it won't provide the necessary tension. But on the other hand, it will be very clear what kind of tension it will provide on the other side, where it is installed correctly. And here I gave you a comparison with the neighboring finger, so they really are very different. Although before this the nails were good and beautiful, but now it turned out that this one has become noticeably narrower. What do I recommend for her home care? I gave her this bottle for home use. I often give Domix oil to clients, or rather to my models. I hardly have any clients left, but I do have models. I often give them oils, different bottles. Because I still make reviews, I want there to be some variety, and since I have all of this, why not share it? Plus, it's the best kind of advertising. And so, look, after a short while she came, and we're removing this titanium thread together, and you can see that on the side where I'm sawing now. So from my side it's on the right, from her side it'll be on the left. Overall, the titanium worked better there and clearly lifted the corner, pulling it out of the skin. That's exactly what we need. On the other hand, it didn't work well enough because it was installed incorrectly. And I think it's so cool that I have the opportunity to show what's wrong here, rather than always showing only the correct options. By the way, making mistakes is totally normal, I support that. The main thing is to think it over afterwards and realize what you did wrong. Well, basically, in short, we've taken everything down here, we've dismantled everything, and we don't have the Titanka anymore. At that moment, she and I discuss the dynamics, see them, and like everything, you see the corner is already lifted, and here is that very same set composite that was there at the beginning. Yes, when I showed you all this, it really got on the skin, but now I'll remove it carefully, because we need to prepare this nail for the next installation of the titanium thread. We'll do everything the same way, but this time we'll try to place the drop of composite on this side so that it's as far to the side as possible, because now we need to lift this corner. I want to say right away that the titanium ones on the hands work much faster, so you should use a thinner one. So 12 or 14, but not 16, 12 is better roughly. You need to watch it closely, and with this client, guide them as shown in the photo. So she kept sending me photos in the admin chat where clients and admins communicate, and they kept forwarding them to me. I would look at them, and when I said, yes, it's time for us to meet, we would meet. This is very important because if the tape is pulled too tight, the wings will go up and it will turn out like this. We don't want that, so you have to be careful if you're going to do this, very, very carefully. But still, I want to say that every case is absolutely individual. I once had an example. It's somewhere far down in the feed when I had a client who at that time wasn't even a model yet. She wore the titanium implant for 3 or 4 months and I had forgotten about her. I thought, well, that's it, she's gone for good, but then she comes back and she still has that titanium implant on her big toe. It slipped down to her toe and dangled there. It was funny, but nothing bad happened to her. Since it was only a small piece of titanium, there was minimal arch or strong tension. Another story happened after an encounter with a door, car or cabinet, I can't recall. By the way, I also showed you another way to install the titanium piece. First I pressed it down, measured the length I needed, and then cut it with special pliers. And after that, I put a drop of composite. I already have a blob here, everything's ready. I put a drop of composite. And now, using a special tool, which honestly I can't remember the name of, but basically it's a special metal stick, I hold it like this. So it's a bit harder to hold here, but I like how the edge looks more. In terms of what I get, it doesn't stick out as much as last time. I had to cover it up before. And now you can see that the arch is restored on one side, and on the other side we're going to extend it with titanium now. I'm showing the finger from all angles on purpose, and yes, right now it looks noticeably wider. Here I'm showing you how it has returned and what our nail looks like after 2 titanium threads. This is the result we get, and we decide not to use the correction system anymore. But the active folds are really bothering us, all of this that's sticking out around there. That's why we're going to do prosthetics, and the prosthetics will be more than unusual. Well, first I'll take the nippers. I have new nippers here and they have a super thin tip just like that. For cases like this, I think it's very relevant because you can't get in there with standard straight cutters. But these nippers are great either for some delicate, complicated cleanups like we have now, or they're perfect, for example, for working with cork horns. If you cut them out in a circle like this, there's a technique where you trim the corn like this, then this is just perfect. And now, after we've trimmed everything, I have the technical ability to get in there with a curette and carefully remove everything from inside. Everything there works on the principle of a tucked-in blanket. It's like when someone tucks in your blanket before you go to sleep, like moms used to do, tucking in the blanket like that. It's the same here, so what's going on with us? Everything there is wrapped up like that. We need to take it all out from there, carefully pull it out. So all the movements are very, very gentle. We need to try not to damage anything. We don't want that. That's why I use the nippers, then the curette, and sometimes other tools. I adjust everything carefully and gently. And with all that, I also leave a little bit of a free edge because I will need it. Next, I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. For now, watch your favorite picking while we handle the processing. Hello, my favorite Domix manicure talc. Not sure if I need to mention it's from Domix. I've already said this 100 million times, but just in case I'll repeat that I really, really love working with talc. Then the bits work just perfectly. Of course, I have good bits, but still, if it's oily, even the best bit in the world will get clogged. You have to understand that there are rules for using each tool or device. There are also different instructions, so I use everything strictly according to the instructions, especially here, because I know that she is very obedient, she is big, she's great, and she always used oil, just like I said. And that's exactly what we needed, because we had to moisturize the nail plate, we had to increase the elasticity of the nail plate. Actually, we achieved that in only 2 sessions with the titanium thread. I think the result is amazing, but as they say, a hater will say, yes, now it's wide. It will settle into place exactly after it grows back and returns to its original state. That is when the length of the nail bed becomes the same as on all the others. So it will take some time, but there was no other way to remove those corners for now. And that was exactly the case when it was simply impossible to fit any hook-shaped tool in there. This is one of those cases when you need glue or maybe plates, like those light systems that use adhesive. To me, a glue system is the same everywhere, even in Africa. It just means something is being glued. We simply glued the titanium piece on. And now I'm showing you this little roll here, which is sticking out so treacherously, and we need to press it down. And this is exactly the case when you need to do prosthetics, not just when you want to make it look pretty. Prosthetics are about necessity, not beauty. And in this case, there's a need to press down the ridge to lower it. That's why we're going to do it now, but I'll be using a technique that's a bit different from the standard one. I'll be honest, at that moment, Elena Porobova was sitting next to me, also known as Peshinka, also known as Podofocus Moscow. So everyone in Moscow, look for Podofocus. Elena Porobova, all of that. She really is the best at what she does. And she suggested making a prosthesis like this, using capulin, rolling it into a cord and tucking it under the edge of the nail plate. Why are we doing this? Because with this method, with this alternative type of tamponade, we slightly lift the free edge, the one that we have, and it turns out that we sort of put the nail in the position we need and set this tamponade in place by twisting it into a small roll like this. I'll be honest, this was actually the first time I used this method of prosthetics and tamponade, but I did it under the close supervision of professionals. In my opinion, Lena is the best at this. That's why I wasn't afraid of anything, and I was sure that everything would work as it should, because besides all that, my brain works too. It may be hard to believe, but it exists and works. And I know for sure that if I lift this, everything will definitely work. I'll show you how it was next. Here, we've carefully cut off the unnecessary end and are gently tucking in these leftover pieces of capolin. But of course, the difficulty was that it kept trying to slip out, so we secured it a little. Secured it carefully and moistened it with bellow bond. And now we're arranging it in such a way that all the edges of the nail plate, all the corners are definitely covered. Let's say everything is free and nothing gets stuck. We are doing everything carefully, because after all, working with a metal tool on a client's bare nail bed is, let's say, well, how should I put it, a questionable pleasure. You can feel it, but since my client already knew that everything would be fine, she said it's just a minor inconvenience. And it's nothing serious, just a couple of seconds of discomfort, and then everything will be just fine. Here, I applied the tamponade again, once more, fixing everything with bellow bond, and I also go over the nail plate itself with it, because now I will need to take the gel for prosthetics. Yes, I have very little left, and I'm showing how I'm going to do the prosthetics now. So what am I doing? Right now, I'm pulling the roll back very, very hard with my thumb. If you look closely, you can see that I'm pulling it back until it turns white. There was an option to use taping, but I realized that the tissue there is so dense and firm that it was easier and made more sense to me to pull it all back manually, exactly into the position where I want it to be. And now carefully with pulses, I'm drying it. Why am I doing it this way? Because there's a volume of gel, because the nail plate might not be ready for it and I wouldn't want it to burn, so I'm doing it carefully. I shine the light, remove it, shine the light, remove it. And only after this side cooled down, I removed my finger. So it's important to understand that if the gel is still warm and you remove your finger, it might bend, meaning it could bulge out like a roller. That's why we wait a few minutes for it to cool down completely. I also gently apply the cleanser to help cool it down, since as it evaporates, it cools the surface. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. Visually, it doesn't look like I'm holding anything, but trust me, my lower middle finger, which is already white, is holding everything in place. Everything turned out as it should. Here I'm already adding most of the material. Because it's not enough to do this just on the tips, you also need to do it in the middle so that there's something to hold on to. And yes, in this case I didn't use a base, I just took a balabon because everything holds perfectly on it too. But if you don't have one like this, you can use a regular base that comes with the prosthetic gel. Next, I remove the sticky layer, and then there's a standard file, just the most basic one. So I just make the nail a little bit smoother, carefully file the sides as much as possible. Just a reminder, the goal isn't aesthetics, the goal is to press down the nail fold. And yes, I did this nail shorter because we don't need to put too much pressure on the nail plate, we just need to press down the nail fold. I'm applying a matte top coat to make it look more harmonious and a bit better. And again, Monarda oil from Domix. Nothing changes here, everything is stable, I keep using it and it's working just fine. Also, at the end of the video, another finger will get a second treatment. You can see the pinky in the background right now, and yes, there's something interesting going on there. So a little later, I'll show you what else happened there. So we have the next visit. She had already walked around with her prosthetic finger. It was around 2 weeks, though not exact. I'll add the dates on the screen if needed. We're using nippers again. In this case, I have 4 regular straight cutting ones here, and I'm carefully removing the gel. So I snip it from the side, remove it like this, holding it with my finger so nothing flies off. And here is our tamponade, which has been there all this time. Yes, the color has changed. Something got in there, something collected there, but I want to say that this is a living person who lives their life and does things with their hands. Everything is fine. No one or anything, not even a nail, was harmed during this video's recording. The gel held up well, no lifting, everything's fine. There was a small chip on the edge, but that's the stress zone, so that's where it should be. Next, using a carbide bit, I completely removed the gel bulk because now I need to remove absolutely everything and let this finger grow out peacefully. I'm carefully removing it, trying not to touch the natural nail so that nothing extra gets filed off, because we still need the dense part of the nail plate, the dense part of the free edge. Let's degrease it and see what we've got here. Well, obviously it's slowly growing out, nothing is getting in its way anymore, and the nail fold won't bother us anymore either, meaning it's no longer sticking up. Now everything is all good for us. The only thing is that we have another little cleaning coming up, because a lot of stuff builds up here in the corners, and of course it will take some time to clean all of that out. I've armed myself with a curette here again to gently and carefully remove everything from there and continue my work. Some areas remain untouched after using the curette. I see some gel residue, so I'm treating it carefully. I take the nippers again and notice there are some thickened areas of skin on one side. I'm cleaning them up very gently and precisely, removing only what I can. The rest will leave for now. And for now, I'm switching from that finger to the pinky. So basically, it's the same situation there, which has been going on since the same time as with the first finger. And she says she has persistent microonycholysis that isn't improving, and it feels uncomfortable when pressed. At our last visit, she asked me to take a look at it. Well, at what? I said, yes, of course we can take a look, but visually on one side there's nothing, and on the other side it seems like there might be something. If you pause and take a closer look, you'll see that above this onycholysis there's a different color. That's why we suspected that maybe something got in there, and that something is preventing the nail plate from attaching. By the way, did you notice what an interesting bit I'm using right now? This is a bit from KMIS. I couldn't recall its name, but I remembered that this unusual bit shape is very convenient for various cleanings, onycholysis, burns, and more. And of course, let me gently remind you about the device I'm using. It's the SP130. Honestly, it's my absolute favorite. I just adore it. It's so quiet, so pleasant, just such a comfortable little device. I really, really like it. Honestly, I am truly happy to work with such equipment. Regardless of what jealous people say, like she's a blogger who gets everything free, I've worked hard to reach a point where I receive things for free. So no, let's not do that. If you're jealous, keep it to yourself. Or better yet, work hard, earn some money, and buy yourself an awesome device too. Meanwhile, I've already thinned out the nail plate and I'm getting to the most interesting part, the spot that raised the most questions and was barely visible to the eye. But there's a story behind it. And it seemed like, well, something red is just something red. Very interesting. I had no idea what it was, and she made a suggestion. She was like, let's press on it, and I said, well, I guess we can. We didn't really get anything out of there. Honestly, nothing really came out. But she said that it seemed like she felt a bit better. We processed all of that. Now we'll apply some ointment. Hear it sizzle? Know what that means? You know it's hydrogen peroxide, familiar and sizzling. Everyone searched, hoping to find something else. Carefully, I'm trying to get closer with the pliers, but I realize that there doesn't seem to be anything else left. We ask again, how are you? I intentionally pressed my finger to check how she felt. She said she was fine. That's why we're applying the ointment. I won't say the name, and those who know it, please don't write it in the comments. Because very often people skip the whole treatment process and just apply the ointment and then it doesn't work. There's a slightly different approach there. The finger was bandaged and sent on vacation. Meanwhile, I go back to the previous finger because I was still finishing the main bit cleaning on it. Here I have a blue flame bit, which is also a very good bit. Classic, favorite, standard. In any unclear situation, the flame bit is my go-to. Here, we carefully work through everything, and basically we can let the client go. Because now, neither the lateral nor distal fold, nothing. And yes, distal is a poor choice. Simply put, not from any of these sides. That's how it is. Nothing bothers her anywhere, and that's just wonderful. All we have to do is watch her grow her little nails. Write here in the comments if you want a continuation of this story. Should I film it, or is it already clear that everything will be okay? I'm waiting for your feedback. In the meantime, I'm applying oil again. Oil is just amazing. I'm basically an ambassador for cuticle oil. Seriously, because it's such a simple tool to improve the condition of your nails. Always use oil morning and evening. Instead of picking or biting your nails, apply oil. Because it just moisturizes, it makes your hands look well groomed, it increases the elasticity of your nail plate, and that makes your nails grow faster. When we rub in this oil, we stimulate the growth of the nail plate. It's that simple. Let me show you what we ended up with. Yes, for now we only have half of the middle nail and the pinky, which is wrapped in a bandage, but everything is ahead. Everything should recover. I believe in it. Let's keep our fingers crossed, or whatever else we need to do, and let me know if you want to see more. Bye-bye.